The movie opens with a young girl named Eve, who is badly injured, and sitting alone inside a police station, looking completely traumatized and confused, while tightly clutching a small, fragile ballerina doll in her hand. As her mind drifts endlessly to thoughts of her family, who are no longer with her, and whose absence leaves a deep, haunting emptiness in her heart. From this intense moment of despair, the story transitions into a flashback, taking us back to a time when Eve was living with her father on a remote, isolated island, where they were hiding to escape the relentless pursuit of a dangerous cult group, a group that Eve's entire family had once been a part of, until her father risked everything to help them escape, saving their lives but making himself a target of deadly vengeance. Because of this act of defiance, the cult retaliated with brutal precision, murdering Eve's mother and her older sister, leaving the father and daughter constantly on edge. Knowing that the threat was far from over, as the cult members continued hunting them relentlessly, driven by anger, obsession, and the desire to punish what they saw as a betrayal. While Eve's father is reflecting on the dangers surrounding them, their large, secluded villa on the island suddenly comes under attack, as cult members first overwhelm and brutally kill all the guards stationed outside and then violently break into the villa, forcing a confrontation that Eve's father had anticipated and prepared for mentally, revealing in the chaos that he is not an ordinary man, but a highly trained and lethal assassin, capable of taking down every attacker with precision and deadly skill. During the intense and chaotic fight that engulfs the villa, Eve's father swiftly spreads thick, choking smoke throughout the entire space, creating a dense haze that makes it nearly impossible for the cult members to see anything clearly. And seizing this critical moment, he scoops up Eve in his arms and dashes into a nearby room, hiding with her as the relentless attackers continue to pour into the villa, their footsteps, shouts, and weapons creating a storm of danger all around them. As the tension escalates with every passing second, more and more cult members arrive, surrounding the villa from every side, and just when the situation seems almost hopeless, the leader of the cult, known only as the Chancellor, appears himself, his presence commanding and terrifying, instantly raising the stakes and adding a new, even deadlier layer of threat to the already perilous scenario. Despite the overwhelming numbers and the chaotic environment, Eve's father fights with unmatched skill and lethal precision, taking down attacker after attacker with swift, calculated moves. Yet the sheer volume of enemies proves too great to overcome, and ultimately, he is overpowered, captured, and held in a merciless grip that leaves him at the mercy of his merciless adversaries. The Chancellor then steps directly in front of him, towering and imposing, his every movement radiating control and menace, and coldly reminds him that he once married a woman from their cult, only to betray them later, declaring in a tone filled with deadly authority that for such a betrayal, he deserves the harshest punishment imaginable, while chillingly noting that his wife and elder daughter have already been brutally killed as a grim warning of what happens to those who defy them. With calculated cruelty and unrelenting resolve, the Chancellor delivers a devastating ultimatum, forcing Eve's father into a nightmare decision. If he wants to ensure Eve survives, he must take his own life immediately, and if he refuses, both he and his daughter will be mercilessly executed, leaving him trapped in a heart-wrenching and impossible choice. Overwhelmed by an all-consuming love for his daughter, and torn between duty and desperation, Eve's father prepares to follow horrifying demand, and take his own life in order to save her. But in that critical moment, Eve suddenly emerges from her hiding place, calling out to him with a voice filled with fear and determination, and hearing the desperate, pleading sound of his daughter, he instinctively drops the gun and reignites his fight with every ounce of strength, skill, and resolve he has left, refusing to surrender as chaos erupts violently all around them, with debris flying and attackers closing in from every side, while the Chancellor seizes the distraction to slip away from the villa, disappearing into the shadows with calculated precision. During the violent and chaotic struggle, one of the remaining cult members strikes Eve's father with a brutal force, knocking him to the ground and raising a knife high to deliver a potentially fatal blow. But then Eve appears from behind, seizes a gun, and fires with deadly accuracy, instantly killing the attacker, before rushing to aid her badly injured father, supporting him as he struggles to his feet, and helping him escape from the villa, proving that even in the darkest and most desperate moments, the unbreakable bond between father and daughter, fueled by courage and love, gives them a fighting chance to survive against impossible odds. As they finally step outside into the open air, a massive, earth-shattering explosion obliterates the entire villa in a roaring inferno. As Eve's father had secretly planted bombs throughout the house, all the cult members inside are killed, while the Chancellor, leaving the area and witnessing the chaos from a distance, mistakenly believes that Eve and her father have also perished in the explosion. Convinced of their deaths, he abandons the island, leaving them alive and free to survive another day. Eve's father is now critically injured. Eve sits beside him on the seashore, desperately waiting for help. Her father apologizes to her for everything and dies in her arms. Some time later, police arrive on the island and take the injured Eve to the police station, bringing the story back to the same scene shown at the beginning of the movie. Then a man arrives at the police station and introduces himself as Eve's father's uncle. He tells Eve that her father was a good man who wanted her to have a better life. Now it is his responsibility to fulfill that wish. He takes Eve from there to a theater. Inside the theater, children are being trained in ballet dancing. Eve is introduced to the director of this place. The director asks the man whether Eve knows the truth about her parents. When he says no, the director tells Eve that her father spent his childhood here and believes Eve will enjoy living here as well. Eve agrees to stay. Before leaving, the man gives Eve a coin and tells her that whenever she needs help, he will always be there for her. After this, Eve meets one of the teachers, who explains that there are two types of training at this place. One is ballet dancing, and other is training to kill people. Using the coin as an example, the teacher explains that every coin has two sides. A person must know how to fight and also how to escape. Eve likes this philosophy and agrees to take both types of training. 12 years later, the story shifts forward in time. Eve is now performing ballet on the same stage where everything began. Her ballet training is extremely intense, and her feet start bleeding, but she continues dancing. Her teacher tells her to stop and get her feet bandaged. While bandaging her feet, Eve talks to her friend, who suggests that she should take a break from training. Eve says she wants to become the best ballerina. Her friend replies that Eve is already a great assassin and should focus more on that training instead. The movie then shows Eve's assassin training. She learns hand-to-hand combat and how to use all kinds of weapons and guns. One day, Eve is made to fight several boys. She loses every fight. Her coach asks what is wrong. Eve says they are stronger than her. The coach explains that her real weakness is not strength, but her lack of belief in herself. Motivated by these words, Eve regains confidence and defeats opponents who are much stronger than her. 2 months later, Eve finds out that her best friend has been sent away. When she confronts the director, she is told that trainees who fail as assassins are sent ahead only as ballerina dancers. Eve argues that good assassins should be given real work. She says she is ready. The director agrees but tells her she must pass some tests first. In the first test, Eve is seated across from another girl. It is revealed that the girl is also a former trainee of Ruska Roma. She is there to be killed. When the bell rings, both girls prepare their guns. Eve prepares first but hesitates to shoot. The other girl is about to attack her. Eve remembers the moment she killed a man to save her father. Gathering that same courage again, she shoots and kills the girl. Some time later, Eve encounters a legendary assassin named John Wick inside Ruska Roma. She has heard many stories about him. Eve approaches John and asks him for advice on becoming a great assassin. John tells her that she is already an assassin, but if she listens to him, she should run away from this life. She asks why he ran away himself, but John leaves without answering. Eventually, Eve receives her first real mission. She is sent to save a girl from a gangster at a nightclub. She is told not to kill anyone, so she is given rubber bullets. This mission was also a final test. At the club, Eve confronts the gangster, but he ignores her and orders his men to attack. Eve fights bravely, injuring them with rubber bullets. She fights the gangster himself, who is far stronger and more skilled than she expected. Despite this, Eve overcomes him, leaves him alive, saves the girl, and completes her mission. With this moment, Eve officially becomes a fully recognized assassin of the notorious Ruska Roma, embracing the dark legacy she has been drawn into, and she receives the same distinctive tattoo that her father once proudly wore, symbolizing her new allegiance. Later on, Eve successfully completes another dangerous mission, where she kills a man as part of her deadly assignment. During the violent confrontation, she is shot, but demonstrating her ruthless skill and determination, she carefully removes the bullet herself, without any help. After sending proof of the kill, she receives a substantial payment for her work. However, as she tries to leave the scene, she is suddenly attacked again and is forced to kill another man in self-defense. It is then that she notices a familiar mark on his hand, the same mysterious symbol worn by the people responsible for killing her father. Driven by curiosity and a growing need for answers, Eve cuts off the man's hand and presents it to the director of Ruska Roma. The director sternly warns her not to pursue these people further, explaining that they are part of a dangerous cult and that there exists a strict contract between the cult and Ruska Roma. ensuring that neither side interferes with the other. Ignoring the warning, Eve seeks guidance from the man who once gave her the coin, returning it to him, and asking for his assistance in uncovering the truth. He agrees to help her, and provides critical information about Daniel, the son of the powerful and untouchable Chancellor. Daniel is currently staying in a hotel, and there is a significant bounty on his life. Determined, Eve enters his room and confronts him directly. Daniel explains that he is also trying to escape the cult, and simply wishes to live a normal life with his young daughter. But before they can strategize, a group of assassins suddenly attacks. After saving Daniel's daughter, Eve tries to escape through the hotel, but suddenly, armed guards block her path. She fights them one by one with brutal precision. At the same time, we see Daniel still fighting elsewhere until he is finally shot. Before Eve can react, someone strikes her from behind. She collapses. Eve is captured, and Daniel's daughter is taken straight to the cult's leader, the Chancellor. When Eve regains consciousness, she finds herself surrounded by prisoners forced to fight as punishment. Eve makes it clear, she didn't come to kill anyone. She only wanted to see Daniel. Hearing this, the cult executes the other prisoners and lets Eve go. Eve then tracks down an illegal weapons dealer, who supplies assassins. She believes he knows about the cult. While she inspects the weapons, cult members storm the shop. Eve uses grenades and explosives, blowing them apart. Both she and the dealer survive. The dealer admits he hates the cult, but was too afraid to fight back. Seeing Eve's determination, he finally gives her the location of the cult city. Eve leaves immediately. On the way, the Ruska Roma director warns her to stop, but Eve ignores the call. As Eve enters the city, she realizes the truth. Everyone here is part of the cult. Inside a cafe, she notices a ballerina doll, exactly like the one her father gave her. Memories flood back. Suddenly, the cafe empties. A man attacks her. Though stronger, Eve kills him. Even the chef joins the fight like a trained assassin. One by one, Eve eliminates everyone. Watching from a distance, a Sikh man informs the Chancellor Eve is still alive. The Chancellor sends Lena to capture Eve. Lena knocks her unconscious and brings her before him. When Eve wakes up, the Chancellor reminds her of the contract with Ruska Roma, and warns her she cannot touch him. Eve shocks everyone. She says she belongs to the cult, and reveals her parents' names. The Chancellor is stunned. He believed Eve died years ago. At first, he thinks she came for Daniel's daughter, but soon realizes this is personal. Lena demands answers. The Chancellor reveals the truth. Eve is here to avenge her parents, and Lena is her elder sister. Lena is frozen in disbelief. In the chaos, Eve kills the guards and escapes into another house. Lena follows her. Eve points a gun at her, refusing to believe her story. Lena explains, only their mother was killed. She survived. Before they can escape, the cult asks the Chancellor for orders. He commands them to kill both sisters. The house is bombed. Lena is left fatally wounded. With her final breath, she begs Eve to take revenge. Wounded and broken, Eve picks up a sword and moves forward alone. Crying, screaming, and bleeding, she slaughters every assassin in her path. Terrified, the Chancellor contacts the Ruska Roma director and demands Eve be stopped before midnight. A massive bounty is placed on her head, and John Wick is sent. John confronts Eve but secretly gives her a chance. She has 28 minutes. If she finishes before midnight, he will let her live. Eve refuses to leave without killing the Chancellor. As Eve fights through the city, the Chancellor realizes John has betrayed him and orders everyone, man or woman, to be killed on sight. Eve reaches an armory, grabs a flamethrower, and burns her way forward. Another assassin with a flamethrower attacks her. Eve escapes through a window, uses a fire hose to disable him, but collapses when the water runs out. Just as the assassin is about to kill her, John shoots the flamethrower from a distance. It explodes. Eve survives, and silently thanks him. Knowing his end is near, the Chancellor tries to escape with his son's daughter. Before he can leave the city, Eve steps in front of the car and shoots the driver. She forces the Chancellor out and tells him, everyone who stood by him is dead. Now, only he remains. With just 2 minutes left before midnight, John watches helplessly. But before the clock strikes 12, Eve shoots and kills the Chancellor, ending the war once and for all. At midnight, John receives a call asking if Eve is dead. He replies calmly, the war is over. The Chancellor is dead. Eve leaves the city with Daniel's daughter. Later, a shocking twist is revealed. Daniel is still alive. Eve reunites him with his daughter, fulfilling her promise. Days later, Eve attends a ballet performance to watch her childhood friend dance. Suddenly, all assassins receive a message. A massive bounty has been placed on Eve. She receives it too. Without a word, Eve quietly walks away. The movie ends on one final question. Will Eve survive or has her war just begun?